Well, hi, everybody. I'm Suzanne Giesemann, and I'm here with my beautiful friends and assistants, Bev and Lynette Setzkorn. And we've all come together today because when I do my monthly mentoring sessions and my weekly radio sessions, so often we don't have enough time to answer the many questions that people submit. So Bev has gathered together questions that I have not had a chance to answer. There are more than we can answer in one sitting today, but she and Lynette have before them the questions. I haven't seen them at all, and they're just going to go back and forth and ask the questions that their hearts say are the right ones to ask today. As I answer the questions, I'll be tuning into my team of guides, Sanaya, so that the answers come from the highest place. And we hope that it's helpful to you and interesting as well. So why don't we start with Bev, as I'll change the view to whoever's speaking. There we go. And Bev, if you ask the first question, we'll just get going right away.
Okay, as I glance down, I'll take a question from Anne. And she says, since we create our own reality and we have a life plan that we make before we come here, how does prayer fit in? How does it make a difference?
That's beautiful. What prayer does is it shows that we know we're part of something greater. It connects us with that greater reality. It shows that we know we don't have to answer everything or do everything ourselves. And it shows that we're willing to take guidance from higher consciousness, no matter who or what that is. So prayer solidifies and strengthens our intentions and also just shows our trust in something greater than this limited, finite human self. So absolutely, prayer is beneficial.
Thank you.
Lynette.
Well, I couldn't pass this one up to be the first question. This is from Dawn. Do animals we have a soul bond with reincarnate during this lifetime and come back to us again?
Oh my goodness. I don't have an answer to that one, so we definitely have to ask the team. Oh, goodness. Okay, there's the lip twitch and a little bit of a jolt there. So I have to get this answer straight from the team. Oh, okay. In many cases, yes, but they're reminding us that just as when our human companions and soulmates reincarnate, it's not that the ones we loved as them are not still with us as well. It's not an all or nothing proposition. We're talking about a greater light as the soul of the animal or the human. So when you have a pet who you love, think of a pet who's passed. That pet has nowhere it would rather be than with you if you had that great soul bond. So that beautiful soul, as expressed as that specific pet, will most likely still hang around with you. But we're being shown now that that greater soul can also still have the desire and the will to incarnate and have another experience in this physical realm for the love that it will be able to share and bring to this world. So you may very well see traits and characteristics of that previous pet in a new pet and guided to you miraculously. So that's really cool.
Okay. I have a question from Korelka. I hope I pronounced that correctly. She wants to ask a question about the paranormal realm. Aspects of reality that seem to cross cultures and times, like creatures like Bigfoot or Loch Ness. Are they some type of interdimensional beings? What is their purpose in our world?
So I'm hearing from the guides, these are not necessarily physical, that many times these are apparitions or, oh, they're showing me a time when I was sure I saw a Bigfoot-like creature, and the closer I got, it was actually a tree, that the brain takes certain signals and matches it with patterns that we know in our consciousness and forms it into creatures. So they're saying, do not always accept as reality in your physical reality what you think it may be. There are realms upon realms but many times this is the brain playing tricks on you. Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
That is interesting. So I have a question from Linda. She says, my question is about emotional health and its effect on our ability to connect. Sometimes I feel so unworthy of being able to have connection with spirit, angels, the masters, and more. And this extends to my loved ones on the other side. I see my shortcomings and have regret for not being a more wonderful and loving person. My mind and intellect knows that this is me being immersed in the story, which is not the true being. But in the end, my question is about how to go about healing from this type of thinking and feeling.
That question of unworthiness is one of the most important ones we need to deal with, because it's our path to learn that there is no such thing as worthiness or unworthiness. We simply are emanations of the divine. And to put worthy or unworthy labels on that is a very human thing. This is one of the greatest opportunities we come here to learn to overcome this human thinking. So when you become aware of this propensity to think in that way, you can see it as a beautiful gift that in overcoming that, in realizing who you are, you will open up your connection more greatly to higher consciousness. The guides are saying very clearly, don't think that that's necessarily a block to connecting with loved ones. By grace, that connection, of course, is always there, but can be overcome to show you there is something more there. However, rather than relying just on moments of grace, those are given as gifts to show us what's possible. And then knowing that there is that greater reality, and we were giving that loving gift of a glimpse across the veil, we're more motivated to work on ourselves and question where those false thoughts came from. The greatest task of all of us is to align with our true nature, which is that light, which is that pure state of being, which is magnificence itself. So any thoughts we have that we know are out of alignment with that, that's our task to recognize it for the human condition thinking that it is, and strive to make better choices through the gift of will that we came here with.
Oh, great. I have a question from Roseanne. Do pendulums work? And if so, how does spirit manipulate them?
Pendulums do work, but spirit doesn't manipulate them. It's consciousness at work through the pendulum, through the body. Your consciousness has the answers when you are clearly aligned and connected with the greater reality, but they can give you false answers if your own consciousness is not in alignment. So I've tested pendulums, and it's truly fascinating when there's no emotion involved. I actually did an experiment where I had 3 glasses and 2 had water and 1 had vodka in it. And I kept having somebody move them around and which one has the vodka? And it was so accurate. See, I didn't have an emotional tie to that answer. Yet I've tested a pendulum when something really depended on it, and my own doubts got in the way and gave me answers that I didn't trust. Where did the awareness come from of what was in the glasses? It's when I trusted that higher consciousness, the whole field, knows what's going on at this level, and trusted that answer to come through the pendulum. It's really coming through the body's energetic field, which causes a pendulum to move yes or no. You see how it works? So a pendulum can give you false positives or false negatives if your own conditioned thinking skews the results. So the way to get a pendulum to work reliably for you is to become the perfect instrument yourself. Clear, trusting, and open. When you do that, you don't need a pendulum, because then you just know yes or no.
Thank you.
That's great. I have a question from Gary. Are prescription and/or recreational drugs or alcohol a possible help or a likely hindrance to increased spiritual awareness? And if they are a hindrance, how does one know where to draw the line?
Well, he's mixing apples and oranges there. Psychedelic drugs have absolutely been shown to open people to altered states of consciousness. But boy, that's an endeavor that, if you read the literature on it, you see that some people can have some really wild adventures, and I really don't care to go there. But some people may want to just take off the seatbelt and launch and go. That depends on how much of a risk taker you are. Some really great books by an author named Christopher Bache, Bache, on the use of psychedelics. Prescription drugs is a different thing. They can also alter your perception of awareness, your openness to awareness, better said. However, as I've said many times in the past, that does not necessarily mean you can't connect to higher consciousness depending on certain medications that you're taking. Anything that you take that affects your energetic field is something that you're going to have to manage somehow when you connect with higher consciousness. So it behooves everyone to be aware of what your normal state of waking consciousness is, and then access expanded states when you're feeling normal for you, and then you'll be able to notice the difference and be more aware when you're ingesting something that's not normal. How's that?
Great, thank you.
Okay, Sylvie asks, what is evolution like on the other side? How do guides and angels evolve?
They evolve by helping us. Boy, what a job they take on when they take on humans, huh? Evolution continues throughout all of life. That's what life is. Love in full expression is what I call life. That's an acronym there. And so love just wants to keep creating and creating something ever more beautiful. Notice how I'm making this motion. The shape of the torus, T-O-R-U-S, explains evolution. From the center comes life in expression. It learns, it grows, it takes back into the center what it experienced. So at each level of life, be it this physical realm, be it the angelic realm, the archangelic realm, growth and evolution is taking place. So our guides, our spirit guides, evolve by helping us. Even the archangels, at some level, their entire realm is evolving, but certainly it would be completely different than what we experience here. Ultimately, it's all about perfecting the expression of love.
Thank you.
Well, that was lovely. So we have a question from Charles, which I love because it's about the moon. Are our waves of emotion affected by the moon?
As you say that, I'm shown the tides going in and out and the tides changing in cycles. And the answer is absolutely, because everything is connected in the physical world and at the non-physical levels. And just as the moon affects our tides, it does affect our moods. I'm hearing a wolf howling at the moon. Animals sense this so much more than we do. But if you were, the guides are saying, if you were to study your crime statistics, you would also see a correlation with crime and the cycles of the moon and the other planets as well. So very interesting.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
This is anonymous. Is mediumship hereditary? Is it passed in DNA?
Yes, it is. That there are some who know they are born mediums and they come into this world and they've chosen specific loved ones to incarnate with because it will be passed down in awareness. There are others, they're saying me in particular, who are not aware of loved ones in the family lineage who had this ability. So it's not an across the board thing. You don't need to be aware of it. But just as we all choose our parents for the lessons they'll afford us, some people have specifically incarnated into a family because mediumship is in their path and they needed to be in a lineage where that's transferred.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So our next question is from Joanne, and this is kind of a hard one. I've always wanted to know whether murder victims of extreme violence and torture feel all of the pain in the hours or days before their deaths, or are they taken out of their bodies? As some survivors have spoken of their memories of pain and terror, and so is it only those that are meant to die that perhaps are spared the pain before death?
Wow, that is a tough one. And I just send so much compassion out to those who are dealing with the aftermath of that here. But I'm shown very clearly the most important thing that we can all hold in mind is that we are not just human, we are souls. And that when we trust that our soul truly knows what it's doing and truly puts us into situations that will aid the soul's growth and the growth of the whole field of humanity. When we trust that, we know in our hearts that the soul cannot be harmed, the soul is fine, and that when the human existence is over, the soul looks back and says, it all seemed like the blink of an eye. So the answer is yes, suffering does happen here. They're not diminishing that at all. They're not denying that at all. But those who do suffer, they're shown wrapped in the arms of angels, whether or not they know it. And may that bring us much comfort. Okay.
James asks, please explain karma and how does that work with our soul's journey?
Okay, I'm not an expert on karma. I was just told to stick to the awareness that the soul, as going back to, this is actually Christopher Beisch, I mentioned him earlier, his analogy of the soul, the greater soul being like a deck of cards, and each incarnation that that soul decides to live is like one hand that's dealt. And you may get certain characteristic traits in one hand, one lifetime, and other characteristic traits that you want to work on in another time, and that's another hand of cards. And if in playing out your hand in a role as a human life, you make certain choices so that certain acts need to be balanced out by the soul or learned in another way by the soul, that's karma. So that there will be another incarnation through that same greater soul to work on those. So I'm being told now, it truly is true. You reap what you sow. So if you do something here that harms somebody and you did it deliberately, knowing it would be hurtful, when you take that energy back to the soul, that is not an energy that will help the soul's growth. So the soul is going to want to right that by giving you an opportunity in an incarnation now to work on that in some way. That's karma.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, that was interesting. Thank you. This is a lighter one from Deborah. Can those in spirit feel wonderful things like we do with our senses, like cool breezes and warm sunshine?
Oh, what a great question. I'm being told that they feel it, but not in the way that we feel it physically. That touch is one thing that they miss. They miss that the warm embrace of a loved one, and yet an embrace, and this is their words coming straight through now, an embrace is an energetic thing. You can bring to mind immediately right now what it feels like to be embraced in love by a loved one. And that's what they feel. They can engender the emotion that goes with a soft breeze. The sunshine is a feeling, a knowing. So while it's not physical, they enjoy it in their own way.
Thank you. Jackie asks, do you have advice about using binaural beats? Is it better to use high frequencies to raise our vibration or to use lower tones to get into a meditative state?
You're asking the wrong person with that one, because I have the Hemisync recordings done by Hemisync with the binaural beats, and I leave that to the engineers. Now, I said, I'm hearing right now, you can ask your guides, and they're saying this is why each of you has your own area of expertise. So there is definitely something to the binaural beats, and each tone will elicit different responses in the physical being, is what the guides are saying. So, oh, they're also saying, though, that it will be different for each person how they receive it, depending on what's in their own energetic field. They're showing me like a key in a lock. So try different things and see what works for you. All right.
Great.
So Jeannie wants to know if when souls pass over, do they eventually merge into one union and drop the identities they had while they were here on the earthly plane? Or do those identities somehow persist eternally?
The answer is yes and yes. This, yeah, thank you. As our human story, as a pattern of awareness, dissolves into the pure knowing that we are love across the veil, we merge back into that greater soul, and the soul, as it perfects its expression of love, can then dissolve into the pure light, layers upon layers of dissolution into the one field of love. But do not worry, the guides are saying, for where love has been always, that pattern can reemerge. So even if that pattern seems to have dissolved, it can re-engender itself when there's a need from a lower level. What does that mean? Even if your loved one is so advanced that they, when they cross, immediately could just become pure light, and we know some people like that. If someone calls their name or thinks of them, that intention pulls into being again that particular being, so that they can serve the lower levels. All these levels are nested and interconnected. It truly is one big web of love from a field of infinite intelligence that knows that all that matters is helping all of the levels come to perfect themselves as the love, as the expression of light. So the light is eternal. These patterns continuously arise, unfold and enfold like that. It's a flow, it's a flow. And ultimately we will all dissolve into the light without disappearing. How comforting is that?
Wow.
Thank you.
Great. See, Sherry asks, what is going on when spirits seem to be stuck or hanging around a house without completely leaving to the other side?
I wish you would read my book, Droplets of God. That's the biography of medium Mavis Patilla. There are two really great stories in there where she was called to help in a situation where one was a family that heard a spirit bumbling about, opening cabinet doors, causing a ruckus. Another was a spirit who was haunting a public swimming pool and causing people great fear. And in both instances of these great stories, they were spirits that wanted to let the people here know there was an issue. I don't want to give away what the issue was. You got to read the book. But they weren't causing havoc just to cause havoc. They were trying to get people's attention. And once they did, the havoc stopped. So there are two instances here that come to mind, two reasons why this would happen. One, what I just explained, to call our attention to something and help us here. And the other is some spirits just like it here and they want to hang around a little longer. If they're causing you trouble, then you just say, hey, I live here now. You're welcome to stay, but don't be bothering us anymore. Or if it totally freaks you out, you can ask them to leave. But if they're not going to bother you and they're here at another level where you don't see them, perhaps it would be the loving thing to say, you can hang out here. But you can also suggest there might be an even brighter light that they can look towards. Go there and suggest that they might discover an even better place to hang out.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Rane. If a person passes from severe dementia, are they able to communicate normally through a medium once they cross over?
Absolutely. What causes the dementia? Plaque in the brain, right? Problems in the brain, blockages in the physical body. When the physical body is no longer present, as it happens at death, but the soul is fully present, that soul's mind is perfectly clear. And they come through that way to me in readings, and they show me I'm all clear. I'm free now of the impediments of the body. And they're just so happy to let us know that. And by the way, that they tell us quite often that they were in both worlds during those periods of dementia. And if we knew that, we wouldn't worry so much.
Thank you.
Nancy asks, there are so many calling themselves spiritual teachers and so much information right now on awakening and ascension and a shift. How do we know what is true and who to follow?
Wow. The heart absolutely knows. I had to laugh yesterday. I asked my husband Ty a question about something, you know, should we do this or should we not do that? And he said, oh, I don't think so. And I said, well, Ty, I'm feeling this way. And he looked at me and he said, Suzanne, follow your heart. And I started laughing because I said, all right, you've been listening to me for a while, haven't you? And I ultimately did follow my heart. But that's the guidance that we get from those across the veil. Your heart knows who to follow. But a real indicator that something's off is if a teacher is instilling fear in you, if a teacher is telling you you must follow them or you must do anything. There are no shoulds here. It's all about your soul's growth, and we learn by trial and error. Truly, when we follow our own heart, that will let us know, is this truth or not? If you're feeling fear, you're not aligned with your true self. A true spiritual teacher will empower you to get your own answers from within. And any teaching should be balanced. There's a should, isn't it? They just went, watch that. Teaching that is aligned with truth will always come from a place of love and neutrality, without judging others and without putting any groups above any other, including their community. Okay, we could go on and on about that, but it all comes back to the heart and balance and love, kindness, and compassion.
Thank you.
So Anne's question is, this seems like an accelerated time of learning for us all. As we approach this particular holiday season, is there a special practice or special attitude that oneness/joy would recommend for us?
Ah, yes, 2020. We're wrapping up 2020 as we make this video, and I've seen some t-shirts that at the human level really wrap it up quite well. But at the spiritual level, without a doubt, time for opportunities to grow. And the spiritual practice is a scientific practice. It's just a practice, and that is stop and breathe. Often, but don't just breathe. We're breathing anyway. We're being breathed by spirit. Take a slow, intention-filled breath that fully inflates the lungs so much that they press upon the diaphragm. That triggers the relaxation response in your physical body. When you relax, the fear goes away, the stress and tension flows out, and you can then more clearly connect with your higher self, which is connected with the true self. So that one deep breath, maybe 3 if you're really out of balance, just takes a moment and it brings you back into a nice centered space, where then the practice is to rise above the drama, see it for what it is, drama that serves a purpose to help us find this place of peace. How many people will now be walking around knowing, I need to get centered, I need to get balanced, when before they just were so caught up in the drama, they wouldn't have even considered anything like a practice in presence. So just start with that, with the deep breathing, being present, and neutrality in the higher view. And then start asking questions of the true self, the field of infinite awareness and intelligence. What's my best step now? How do I best deal with this? And best of all, Who am I really? When you come to know that you are not just the character in the drama, but an intimate member of the field, an expression of the light itself, then it doesn't matter what happens here. Then you find that place of peace. And when you enter back into the drama, then you can take actions that are aligned with the light and not add to the drama. Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
Gina asks, as a person who works in education, I'd like to know, what will our education systems look like in the future regarding traditional physical classroom settings? I'm curious, will there be a reconnection of spirituality and love in our education systems?
Well, the guides are saying that they often don't do predictions because human will is the wild card, and that's part of our reality. Each person's choices are what creates our reality. But I'm showing that we are always being guided towards knowing oneness. They're showing me that the younger generations are so different, that they truly understand oneness more, that they truly understand fairness more, and that we're going through this real period of friction and shakeup as old institutions are broken up. They're showing us remain open to change. Don't completely eschew tradition, however. They're showing me that it's going to be very different. There's not one big answer to that, that there will be a period of trial and error where people try new systems of learning, but really a lot of tug of war as some hold on to the old systems and some try new. I know that's a convoluted answer, but they're saying that there is no one answer, but be prepared for massive shakeups in what we know as the only way. That's interesting. Today's Daily Way message, and we're filming this on November 27, 2020. If you go to dailyway.org, you'll see they were talking about, or was it yesterday, the way we've always done things. You know, you have to be cautious of that because we are here to grow and flow. Interesting. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Well, now you have me worried, Lynette.
A lot of people have this question because I've heard it in my life. It's like, I don't want to know about guides. Jeff asks, if your guides are always around, how do you get any privacy to do private?
Okay. And I hear from my one guide who has a great sense of humor, get over it. Most of our spirit guides have been in a physical body. They absolutely know what it is like to be human. They know about our human hangups, about our body. They know that humans often lie and are ashamed. They say they know it all, and that because of that, they've agreed to be guides and help us, that they truly don't care about our human tendencies, our human nature that often leads to greater challenges. Yeah, they say it's part of the reason they're happy to be guides now. Well, in other words, let's sum it up, guys. They're showing me a stepping back and a little curtain that comes down. They say they don't have to watch over us every instant, that we're just fine on our own, that our souls truly do know what they're doing. They step in as needed to guide us. They say you can talk to us in the shower, and they don't mind, but there are times when they're saying being intimate, that they do not need to be around. They need a break every once in a while too.
So, and would that be also true for our loved ones in spirit? Because a lot of people have asked that question. Oh my gosh, can my dad see what I'm doing now?
I see this absolutely like a big veil comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't worry about it.
Excellent, thank you. Denise asks, when our world switches to 5D, what happens to those who aren't holding that frequency?
So just for those of you who don't know what 5D is, there are many people that like to put limits on the limitless light and define dimensions. It's just a way of us understanding better, of some people understanding better, well, this reality is 3-dimensional, then there's the spirit world and it's 4-dimensional, and there's 5-dimensional, and we can access those different dimensions while we're in a body. My guides have very clearly said, try not to get in a box and just be love, just be the field. So those who have experienced highly altered states of consciousness where they access higher guidance without leaving a body and can do so even with eyes open, that is in some cases what some people refer to as being in 5D now. So let's take the layers out, let's take the divisions out and just be the light now. Would you read that question again?
Okay. Just when our world switches to 5D or 5 dimension, what happens to those who aren't holding that frequency?
Wow. I'm just being shown by the guides that we are all evolving higher and higher, and that this reality has so far to go in its evolution that you need not concern yourself with that happening. Concern yourselves all with raising the light that you bring into this world, that you reveal to this world. It is not dissolving anytime soon. That's the answer I get.
Thank you.
Okay.
So our next question is from Charles, who asks, can the deceased help us against our will, and will they?
I'm hearing very clearly, I want to make sure I get this right, nothing happens against your will because your will is the strongest tool you have here for learning. So if you're, they say, hell-bent on making a decision that will cause you a great learning opportunity, no one is going to interfere with that because it will help your soul's growth, unless making a choice will affect the greater good in such a way that there must be an intervention. But I'm showing that that kind of intervention would come from a higher place than a loved one who has just passed. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Diana asks, is there a set number of souls that reincarnate, or are there new souls that come in?
I'm seeing bubbling up all the time. This is that torus shape that I showed you, like a fountain that folds back on itself and flows back in. That creation is constantly creating anew. There's no limit. As some souls dissolve and don't come back around because they've done this cycle enough times that they have dissolved into the light, others are created for the freshness and the creativity that they bring. But remember, those old patterns can still be engendered. Spirit is saying, don't think in timelines, because the field simply is. It's just bubbling up and having experiences. So you would call it new. We're being advised to call it unconditioned energy patterns.
Interesting.
Right.
Katie has a question about love. In regard to finding love in the digital age of dating, do we have to search for our soulmates or trust that life brings this person to us when the timing is right?
Well, you know, you don't have to do anything. Have to is very much like that word should. The most important thing, and this comes through in a lot of sessions that I do, is to radiate out to the world the kind of partner you would like back. So if you're not in a good place emotionally, this is not a good time to look for a partner, or you're going to attract to you a partner that will trigger all the lessons you have not yet learned. So do you want to learn them from a soulmate who's truly there for the hard way to learn? Or do you want to solve your challenges first, working with your guides, knowing what's already a something in yourself that's out of alignment? Clear that out so that you're ready to give as well as you receive the love. If you're in a needy place, searching for that partner in online dating because you can't be alone, because there's some hole in you that has to be filled, you will most likely attract to you the very same energy. And when you have two needy people looking for love outside themselves, that's a recipe for disaster. Okay, just know this from an energetic level. So if you feel complete already, if you know you're already whole, and you would like to have in your life someone to share the joy of life with, then you'll go on that online dating site, trusting that somebody that matches that completeness is going to just jump right out at you and it will flow perfectly. Can you feel the big difference there? So again, go into your heart. Spirit's saying you'll be guided. You will, if you're in that place of wholeness, completeness, and knowing that you simply want to share love with someone else for the sheer joy of it, then you can send out to the universe the intention that that perfect partner for you is already here and will come to you in the perfect way. And it may be through digital dating, or they may just walk across the room and you'll know that's the one. That's trust. No, I feel that's just a beautiful way to end this. We could go on and on and on. I know we had like 87 questions. I don't know how many we did today, but that's why we're here, to know that we're complete and whole already. I'm going to bring you two back on the screen here. And I know that that's what we in this team here working for Spirit has come to know, that we're whole and complete. We are here to be the expression of love, and that what you send out is what comes back to you, and that we learn through relationships. I certainly learn from these two all the time. I learn from my beautiful husband, Ty, all the time. But the relationships are our greatest gift. So I'm just grateful to both of you for helping me today. I'm grateful to all of you who hopefully benefited from some of these answers today. And may we all go out and radiate love to the world, knowing that it's not because we have to or should, but because it's who we really are, the expression of the light. Thank you, girls.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And thanks for choosing just really great questions. And those of you who submitted them, we thank you. And we'll do this again and again and again until we whittle down all those questions. Everybody take care and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.